The stock of the week for sure, and it's on the move once again this morning. Looking at it down about 8%. About we're now at 46.80. AMC's CEO Adam Aron making his case to investors. The AMC apes last night on YouTube.
You know who the real king is? The shareholder is king. You are fully in charge. That's why we're not asking you to authorize 500 million shares. We're authorizing you to vote for 25 million shares because we don't think you vote to approve 500 million shares. We think you might vote to approve 25 million shares. That's why we take what you think, we take what you have to say very carefully, and we give a lot of thought to what you guys think. And it's for a simple reason. Like, we exist in the capitalistic free market system.
Joining us right now is maybe what could be described as the leader of the AMC apes, Trey's Trades host, Trey Collins. Trey, it's good to see you this morning. You've been early and thus far on all of this. Right, hundreds of thousands of people are watching your videos daily. I was just looking at some of the numbers on your latest post, which is over 500,000. Millions of people collectively have been watching this. I want to talk to you about what's happening here, the technicals and what you're seeing and what you're saying, but I also want to talk about some of the larger public policy issues around trading versus investing and speculation and the like. But before we get into any of that, give us a little bit of your background. Who are you?
Well, Andrew, first off, I'd like to say thank you, obviously, for letting me come on the show here. I'd like to just make one small, correction to the headline. I don't consider myself the leader of the apes. As a retail investor, I consider myself an ape, and just the same as everybody else considers themselves an ape. If you own 10 shares, 100 shares, 1,000 shares, 10,000 shares, that means that you're an ape, and I think that's the huge embodiment of the movement. That's just one small thing that I wanted to say. But my background in investing, I'm a 23-year-old guy, turned 24 this June. I did not start too long ago, and I actually take pride in that because I think it shows that retail investors, the little guy, quote unquote, can come pretty far in not a very long period of time. I work an 8 to 5 government facilitated job. I'm doing this interview with you before I actually go to work, and if just a regular Joe on the street can learn this sort of stuff about stocks and make money doing so, I think it means that anybody can, because I came into this and learned what I had to know, before AMC started, and here we are now.
So there's a lot of people, Trey, who look at this and say, is this investing or is this speculation? Is this gambling? What do you think?
I think AMC as it sits right now is about 15% fundamentals and 85% technicals and data. So when I say fundamentals are important is because back in January when the short squeeze thesis began, right, the shorts had a pretty decent case. AMC was fundamentally pretty weak. The bankruptcy was on the table. But with each passing day, each passing month, they've continued to generate cash, $587 million, as soon as their latest, offering into the market. And with each passing month, as they raise more cash, cash is king, the short thesis weakens, and that's where fundamentals come into play. Now, the technicals come into play when you consider some of the algorithmic trading that's taking place with AMC, the failure to deliver that takes place when call options run from out the money into money. As we know, there's insane call option trading that's taking place, lots of liquidity going to AMC stock, which can drive some volatility and price action on AMC. And then lastly, obviously, for a short squeeze to happen, you have to have high short interest. Now, the short interest on AMC as it is right now, last I checked this morning, was 17.5% of the free float. Now, you can't have a short squeeze without shorts covering. That's as simple as it is, which is why I firmly believe that there's still more room on the table. Don't get me wrong. There is risk involved with every sort of trade that's not based on fundamentals alone, but there's money to be made on momentum, and that's what this is right now. It's a momentum play, and it's a movement. It's a story, man. I mean, I think the apes are truly trying to tell a story about why they think they deserve to be heard, to make money, because the short sellers have been betting against retail investors for a long time, and I think it just seems like the retail investor has the upper hand.
Well, let me ask you about that, because at some point the music's going to stop, right? It typically does in almost every case. And so when people talk about speculation, when they talk about momentum, they often say that it's a bit of a greater fool theory, right? You can win now, but somebody's going to lose on the other end. And I wonder what you tell the other retail investors about this. I know that this is a story, and we talk about diamond hands and paper hands. Some people are doing this because they're trying to make money. Others say, as you just described, that they're doing this as part of a larger movement. If it is a movement, what is it trying to prove?
movement is trying to prove that the dumb money, that's a term that gets thrown around a lot by financial media regarding the retail investors because of the casinofication, essentially, the gambling, aspect of this investing. This is a message that I've preached, for myself, something I've tried to live by, is you only invest into the stock market what you're willing to lose. I view, AMC right now essentially as money that does not exist and I might never see again. And I'm absolutely okay with that. And if you view AMC stock that way, you're walking away okay. So once you take that emotional aspect out of it, the gambling, the casinofication, which I've never, you don't have that aspect on the table, you can come into this and truly rest easy, knowing that wherever this is going to go is where you want to bring it individually as a person. You get to sell, you get to buy whatever you want. I mean, that decision ultimately is up to you. I think the message, with all that being said, is to the short sellers saying, look, like we see some of the algorithmic trading, we see some of the failure to delivers that have been going on. We see a lot of these FINRA fines and reports coming out talking about, mal reporting of different data and different short interests. And they see that. They want to speak out about it individually as retail investors, as the apes.
I get that, and I appreciate it. Let me just push back on one piece of this, which is there is something happening here, which is a divorce from reality in terms of the fundamentals of the company, of the business. In fact, yesterday, Adam Aron and AMC said that effectively when they sold their shares to the public, by the way, who've given them now potentially a new lease on life, we'll see, in terms of the cash that they're raising. But for the company, it's not a game, right? It's not a casinofication or a speculation. It's a business with employees. And so how do you think about that piece of this?
I think Adam Aron, and I get a lot of flack for this. I get called the 23-year-old naive kid for trusting what the CEO does, and I'll take that heat every single time because I believe in history, trends, and facts. And the facts are that Adam Aron is setting the bar in terms of CEOs, reaching out to retail investors and caring about what the retail investor is asking for, what they're looking for, what they care about, as well as watching out for the long-term health of the company. They've raised well over $1 billion in 2021 alone, which is really going to help set them up for the next 1, 2, 5, 10 years. They can acquire different failing movie theater chains who did not survive COVID, who did not survive the quarantine process, who might never open their theaters again, right? And really do some great long-term success. Now, with this short-term, momentum trading, there inevitably will be people that don't invest in AMC long-term. But I think there are going to be lots of people who do invest in AMC long-term, myself being one of them, because I truly do believe there is a long-term fundamental, value for AMC. Is that right now? I don't think so. I mean, I think that most of the retail investors of the apes understand that this is not the true fundamental value of AMC, and that's where the risk comes into play, right?
So Trey, what do you think the real value of AMC? What do you think the real value of AMC is? And you look at some of their competitors that are also publicly traded companies. You could look at the bonds, which are trading at a pretty steep discount.
Right. So the market cap for AMC, if I remember correctly, was just over $10 billion not too long ago. And you look at companies like Cinemark, which were trading at about $1 billion. Now, I think that you look a couple quarters down the road, we get more quarantine restrictions to be lifted, and the revenue starts rolling back in for AMC. You've got two things are going to start happening. You've got a lot of these hot movies that are coming out, which are going to roll in some great revenue, and you've got a new factor that can't really be accounted for and quantified, which is social and cultural sentiment towards the company itself. There are people that genuinely love AMC stock simply for the culture that it's built, the people that have come together for some sort of love for the theater, and the money that's made people. I think there's going to be gratification towards the company that's ultimately going to help them make money. With all that being said, I truly do believe that the fundamental value of AMC would be somewhere in that $20 to $25 range, in 2021, end of 2021, when they're fully back in capacity, fully bringing in that cash flow and that sort of nature.
But that's half of where it is today.
Right.
So if you're saying that the value of it's half of what it is today, what do you tell your followers who are buying it today, who eventually, at some point, it's going to go down, right?
Fundamental value is different than momentum trading, right? Now, just because, so this is a fact. The market is, the stock market tells you exactly what every single security in the market is worth in that given moment. So at this given moment, if there's somebody out there that's willing to buy AMC stock, it's trading at $47 right now. Somebody's willing to buy AMC stock at $47. That means at that moment it's worth $47 to somebody. The momentum trading aspect of it, even if it doesn't necessarily reflect on their current earnings or the future projected earnings, that doesn't mean that there's not money to be made. In fact, I know there's a lot of people who have made money out there. I've read some of the stories. trading. In fact, I think
Right.
this is a new
Trey,
age of investing.
But I think the question I'm asking is, am I supposed to be concerned that, I mean, people have talked about these types of things over the years as pump and dump schemes where people talk up a stock, right? And there's some people who are very educated. Trey, you seem to know a lot about what's going on. And by the way, there's a lot of people online trading this right now that do understand all of the dynamics. But then there seems to be a lot of people who don't. And by the way, people make mistakes along the way. Yesterday, I noticed you had said at one point that you thought when AMC first put out that announcement about the 11.5 million shares, you know, you would put out a tweet telling everybody, no, that's actually old news. It's from a different. It's from an old filing, and that proved to be wrong. And so I asked you that because I think that there are people who are listening to you and in terms of how you think about your own responsibility to all the other apes.
Right, and I appreciate you holding me responsible, Andrew. That's totally okay, and I hold that weight very, very heavily in being careful about the things that I say and put out online. Now, the big message that I've always preached and tried to live by over the last 6 months, and I think what really takes any sort of risk and overexposure to AMC stock off the table is only investing into it what you're willing to lose. You know, especially call options. This has been something I've talked about with the call options chain over the last, probably 3 months. Is view these call options, buying a $70, $80, $100, $110 call, essentially as a decent odds lottery ticket. That's what those are, right? Because we can't predict the volatility either up or down in either direction for AMC stock. But I'd say it's a better odds lottery ticket than you've got doing something else. And I'm never going to pretend that's not what it is, right? Because that is what call options are. You're betting that a stock is going up. What's your betting that it's going down, So as long as you're really limiting your exposure and managing your risk, managing your exposure to the stock, and you're not putting yourself in a situation where you can't pay your bills, you can't take care of your family, you can't feed your mouth, right? I think that you're sitting okay. And the fundamental value, I won't argue that in the least bit. The fundamental value of AMC stock is not where it's trading right now. But it will come back down to that eventually when the squeeze is all said and done. The storyline has not been written yet.
Trey, we appreciate you being with us, offering your unique perspective on this, and I think it was a lesson for all of us, and we hope to talk again very, very soon as we continue following the apes. You bet. Thanks.
Great, did a good job. Even with your blood sugar level, like up here, like in a stratosphere.
I've been eating the donuts.
Right from the donuts. But that was good. Coming up, we're getting ready for the May jobs report.